I mentioned a few minutes ago when I was talking about the podcast that we talk so much about politics. And obviously, this is a political talk show. We talk about the left, the right, and things that are happening in the news. For this hour, I'm going to call it the America Hour. And I want us to talk not so much about the government, but about the people who inhabit this country. I want to talk about our national identity. I'm very lucky to have traveled around the world in my life. I've actually been to Russia. I went to Russia when I was 5 years old. I barely remember it, but I remember we talked about this on the podcast. There's this cupcake tower in St. Petersburg. Of course, now I'm forgetting the name, but it's a church in St. Petersburg, and the spires look like cupcakes. I do remember that. I've been to Estonia, been to Italy, France, Israel, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam. I'm very blessed to have traveled. And one of the things that I do when I travel is I just go up to random citizens on the street and I say to them, what does it mean to be Israeli? If you had to describe Israelis, for instance, what would you say? Or what does it mean to be Cambodian? And I have found that people have a quick answer. And a lot of the times when I ask a variety of people, many of them do have similar answers. Israelis are tough. They're spirited, they're gritty, they're to the point, they're patriotic. The Khmer people of Cambodia, that's the 90% of the Cambodians are Khmer. They're modest, they're resourceful, they're traditional, they're loyal. And I thought to myself, if someone came to America, let's say someone from another country was visiting here, and they just walked up to a random person on the street and said, what does it mean to be American? I don't know what people would say. So I want to ask you, I know that for the past 2 hours, if you've been listening, I haven't been able to take any phone calls because we've been dealing with news. And then I was lucky enough to interview Steve Forbes, who just did a PragerU video on inflation. And then I interviewed Molly Hemingway about the 2020 election. She wrote this fabulous book about it, Rigged. So I haven't had the opportunity to take calls. But this third hour, I want to take a lot of calls. And I want to pose 2 questions to you. And please only call in and answer these 2 questions, if you will. The first one is, when America is at its best, what does it mean to be American? What are some traits that you would say characterize United States citizens? And then the second question is, what are we at risk of losing? Or what do you think that we've lost already? This is a question that fascinates me. I have to be honest with you, at 22 years old, I don't really feel a sense of national identity, and that makes me sad. I don't know what traits or characteristics I would say. And America, I think it's important for any nation to think about its national identity, the traits and characteristics that make that country and its people what they are. But I think America has a special need for that. The founders talked about this. They said that, the American spirit has to be strong in order to make this system of limited government work. Also, this nation isn't, unlike almost any other nation on earth, the United States is not ethnically, religiously, or historically homogenous. It's not really a homogenous nation in those ways. So what's holding us together? It has to be our national identity. Our national credo is e pluribus unum, out of many one, out of many people, different backgrounds, different opinions, different religions. We are one America. Again, the founders emphasize this. We have to have something that holds us together, a strong, robust national identity. I don't know what it is anymore. I'm very lucky to have grown up in a house where my parents tried to preserve that. They talked to me about America so much. I really credit both of them for my conservative awakening, if you will, that happened a little later for me in life at the age of 20. I remember growing up, a household hero was Lenny Skutnik. I don't know how many people my age would know that name. Lenny Skutnik I think he was a government worker. I can't tell you where he worked, but he was in D.C. And in 1982, in January, a plane crashed into the Potomac River. And Lenny Skutnik was walking by, and there was a woman in the river who was struggling. And Lenny Skutnik dove into the freezing cold Potomac water and saved her life. I was taught that Americans put others before themselves, that they are chivalrous, that they are mannered. I can't tell you how many times my mom in particular would talk about Lenny Skutnik, and that made a huge impression on me as a 5, 6, 7-year-old. I thought, wow, how lucky I am to be part of a country that has people like that. I'll tell you another thing. My uncle said that he used to go to a nearby factory. He grew up in Worcester, Massachusetts. Shout out to people in Worcester. That's where my mom's from. He said that almost every day during the summer, my grandmother would take him to a nearby factory where he would watch people lower the American flag. How beautiful is that that was the activity? Again, I don't know if that's the case anymore. I was taught Americans were patriotic. Are we still?